welcome to the 52 Weeks podcast. My name's Steph. And, as we're starting out this new year, we're all about goals here and creating new habits. But the sad truth is that a lot of goals and resolutions, fell before we even leave January. And so I wanted to bring on an expert to talk to us more about it. So I brought on the one, the only.
Telana Simpson.
Hi, Telana. Okay,
That's it.
T- Telana, let's talk about, because the reason I wanted to bring you on is because I saw you did a post about 80% of resolutions fail before February. That's so high. I didn't think it was that high. So can
Yeah.
we dive more into that?
Yes, sure. And I thought to start off with is just to remind ourselves that a resolution is something we resolve to do. We have every intention, and I think most of us, or everyone who actually bothers to set a resolution, really, really, really believes that they are going to make it work this year. They're going to come out the other end with having achieved whatever they resolved to do, what they said they wanted to do. But the statistics, the research has shown that by February, usually so many people have just given up on their resolutions. They've just lost track of them. Life's become too busy. It's been too hard. They've forgotten about them often. So something happens. And one of the interesting studies was actually with Strava, that fitness app.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get fit. I'm one of them. I tried to go for a run on Monday and I haven't been again since yet. So I know I need to apply what I'm about to share to myself. Yeah, so Strava noticed that everybody in the 1st of January was setting all of these goals and out there being active, all this activity. And towards the end of the month, there was actually a specific day, I can't remember if I wrote it down. Yeah, the 19th of January, they actually named Quitters Day because they
What?
noticed on that day, so many people canceled, quit, stopped showing up. And then there was just this massive decline after that. So and it's like millions of people in that app. So that research I thought was really interesting because it actually gave like days and numbers to it. But there's been a lot of research. If you go and you just have to Google, you'll find so many articles about and links to those papers and that there's just something about the beginning of the year. There's something I think we've come about this, like it's almost like a tradition. What's your New Year's resolution? Come, 1st of January, there, 31st of
Hmm.
December. And we all say, oh, I want to be fitter and healthier and I want to grow my business and I want to, make more money. I want to change jobs or whatever the resolution is. I want to be kinder. And then we never follow up. We never follow through. We never actually make these things happen. So yeah, I wanted to speak to more people about it because I started a thing years ago where I just thought I would set a focus for the year or to aim for one, and it was just a fun thing at that time. Like for 1 year, it was tango dancing, and that was my focus. I would go to tango dancing events and made a whole lot of friends and enjoy it. Didn't necessarily do classes, but I showed up where tango dancing was happening and really thoroughly enjoyed it. I know another year I did rock climbing. 1 year I did the Rubik's Cube. I just thought I'd spend the year playing with it, and only towards the end of the year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't actually pick up a Rubik's Cube, or the one that I had taken a few months to find. Quickly, started Googling and found out, worked on the strategy of getting it out, the Rubik's Cube, solved. Yeah, so that was just for me making that resolution, that intention that this year I want to do something around fun, and then every year for a couple of years I bounced around different things.
I love what you were saying, though, because I think it is so relatable, about Quitter's Day or just how most people want to change. but sort of after 19 days, that excitement wears off. And when I started this podcast years ago, started it in 2020 with two other friends, and I thought this was going to be the secret sauce. I was holding myself accountable. I was saying my goals publicly. And we quickly found that even though, because every week we would like talk about our goals and like come and report and like whatnot, we quickly found that like that always did it wasn't the secret sauce, you know? And I've loved seeing over the years, like hearing from people about what helps like them get their goals. So what do you feel like those 20% of people that actually keep their resolutions, why do you feel like that is?
There's a number of criteria, right? That I think, and it's interesting. You mentioned a few of them, so maybe you're missing a couple that could have, added to that. But a big part is the accountability, and I used to talk about that last, but I mean, you brought it up. So maybe actually we should park it and go back to the first thing is, I think it's actually about what it is. Are we very clear on what the goal is? So I even try and help people change the name from resolution to a goal, because a goal sounds a bit more of a particular like result. And sometimes people have a negative connotation with goals. So then it's like, well, whatever word you want to put it. I know one client had a mission. She called it was her mission for the year. So whatever, you want to focus on, you need to be very specific about what it is, and then how do we language it? And sorry, one aspect about the what is making sure it's something you really, really want. It has to fit into you, where you're going with your life, what you're about. It has to somehow link with your own values, what's important to you. Often I hear people set goals and it's not what they want, it's what their parents want, or what all their friends are
Mhm.
doing, or what they think society expects of them at this day and stage of their life or career. So if you don't really, really want it, when the going gets tough, there's nothing to pull you through. There's nothing to actually give you that resilience to get through the tough things. So checking what that you really want it and understanding what it is you want, and then trying to language it in a way that's we call positive. So it's like affirming what you're moving towards rather than what you're moving away from. What do you want to create in your life rather than what you want less of? Yeah.
And I love that you're saying like, what do you want? Because now and nowadays when everyone's like talking to chat, like GPT and stuff, like chat's not gonna know always what you want for your goals. Like this is something that you need to come up with
Yeah.
yourself. So I think that that is a big thing of like evaluating why you wanted to say it, and like you said, telling yourself why. Like because I've been doing that with a few things that I'm trying to change in my life. It's powerful to hear that every day of like this is why I'm doing it. Like this is why my life's gonna be better.
And that was the next point. When you've identified the what, is to really connect it to that why. Like you need to really tap in, and it's not just the surface level why. If you can go, why do you want that? And then what's important about that to you? And why do you want that? And what will that give you? We talk about the higher intentions. So the why of intention, not the why of reason, or that is, it's more what is the purpose behind what it is you're trying to achieve. Because sometimes when you even get to the what you really, really want, that higher intention, the actual goal might change, because the way to achieve that, you might realize there's other ways to achieve it, especially if you're going through a process like what I'm talking about now in January, usually with my clients and that. But if you talk about, so you say like running the marathon, you might think that's the goal because everyone's running that marathon and all your friends are going to be there. So it's, an aspect to be social with them. But if you go over your attention is not really to run the marathon. It's to live a healthier lifestyle, to be more flexible and strong in your body. And there may be another avenue to achieve that healthier, more flexible strength in your body. And even there could be higher whys for that than running. So you might find that doing yoga is actually a better fit for your higher intention. So yes, so working out what it is you want and also why you want it, and getting very clear as much as you can on what like those higher intentions are, the bigger why. And I think it's Simon Sinek, right? He talks about the 5
Mhm.
whys. And the reason you ask 5
Mhm.
is you're going up that level of intention. Each why takes you to a bigger, stronger one. And if you can access that higher intention, that is one of the things that you're going to need to help you in June, July, August, when you're hitting that dip and you're really battling, if this is like a year-long goal, or to, sustain the goal when it really gets hard. It's good to have a clear understanding of your why so that you can tap into it. Because there's something about bringing that higher energy down to the mundane of doing what you need to do to get to your goal that fuels it. It brings energy and a different energy to just, I have to do it.
Man, I didn't realize that, like, it's, like, bringing that higher energy down to the mundane. That's a perfect way of seeing that, and one thing that I have that's, like, my goal for this year is to have no dishes in the sink, right? And that seems, like, very simple, but even, like, last night, like, there were 2 dishes. That's all, like, 2 plates. I did not wanna wash them, like, I was beyond tired, and it was just one of those things that, like, I also know myself, and I know that, like, if I don't do the simple tasks today, it's gonna be very easy like, it spirals because it's not just the dishes, then I do the dishes, and I tidy up around the house, and I've talked about this before on the podcast that when I am sticking to that no dishes rule, I'm able to keep my house in order because it's just a little thing, but and that's what I have to remind myself of, like, no, like, this plays into being a butler for myself, like, we're keeping this in order, you know? But it is hard
That's,
when that energy's lacking.
yeah. So what is your higher intention behind, or what's the reason for having the dishes done, being that your own butler? What will that give you?
Because
What's
the
important?
Because then in the morning, I have a clean house, and it's like, I work best when there's, like, I'm organized and clean, and so I'm not waking up being like, "Ugh, I have to do those dishes," and now they're all, like, gross and everything, you know?
And if you wake up in the morning and the house is organized and clean, what does that give you?
Oh, that, like, just starts my day off, like, feels good.
What's your reason? Why do you want to start your day off feeling good, organized? In that
Because, like, there's a lot of things that I'm trying to manage right now, and so it's like having that off my plate, it's like just like one less thing off my brain, you know?
So if it's less of your brain, it gives you more brain power, brain capacity to focus on what's important for the day.
Yeah.
Those are my words, but I don't know. It just so it gives you
Yeah,
more
no, for sure,
focus.
for sure, for sure.
And why do
Yeah.
you want more focus for those things that are you're trying to deal with?
'Cause I'm trying to, like, build my own business, like, be my own boss, and it's hard with a full-time job, you know? And if the dishes pile up one day, they're gonna pile up the next, and by the end of the week, I'm spending 2 hours cleaning up my house.
So why do you want to be your own boss and build your business?
Because like, honestly, getting down to, like, I'm passionate about helping women podcast, and I want more time to, like, create guides to, like, empower them and do that. So
So I don't know if you're starting to see like how we're going up now. So those
mhm.
2 dishes in the sink tonight, when you look at them and you don't do them, you're disempowering women. You're not helping them find their voice to podcast. But if you do those 2 dishes tonight, that is your step towards empowering women find their voice in podcasting.
'Kay, like, that's the higher pow I didn't even realize, like, going there, that's powerful.
So I hope
That's really
it helps
powerful.
you next time you look at those dishes. Every dish you
Yeah,
wash
'cause
is taking you closer to empowering another voice.
man, because like, when you were talking about it, I was, like, thinking I wasn't thinking that high, I guess, and that's actually really cool. That's really cool, and that's an easy thing to, like, tell yourself.
Especially when you've done the work of growing up. So I think a lot of people, if you go back to what you're asking, why don't we achieve our goals or what we can do to help us achieve our goals? is a lot of people don't put the time and effort into thinking about them. And it doesn't mean it takes you months. You can do it in a very short time. I'm offering a workshop soon. It's 2 hours. And in those 2 hours is enough to really think through your goals so that you've got all these resources to see you through. Because that bit of thinking, right, it took us a few minutes. Not many people bother or make the time or stick to that process of really asking. And there may even be something behind, a higher intention. You can check in with yourself around your bigger why of why you want to empower women in particular in podcasting. Like, what does that, you can go
Yeah.
up and it will fill, it fuels so many things. But that's, to me, what we need to be doing is spending a bit of time and effort at this time of year. So I find the energy of the new year, there's something about that we think, okay, closed one chapter, we're starting a new one. It's like a blank page. I love a blank page in a brand new book, journal. There's
Uh,
something about a new pen. So spend a bit of time to actually work out how you're going to get the most out of this journal, out of this new year. Do that little exercise and jot it down. If you can jot down those, so I wrote them as I was speaking to you, just little arrows going up and up and up to get to that higher thing. And then that's what you want to keep visible. That's what you want to keep in your journal to refer back to when things are tough. Because that energy not only helps you wash the dishes, but it's going to help you to stick to other things that help you free up your focus so that you can do what you need to do. So yeah,
and it seems so simple. Like the first time couple questions you were asking me, it like seems so simple of like, well, yeah, like I want to do it so I keep my house clean and like I want to
mm.
keep my house clean so that I don't have to spend hours on it. But like, so at first it felt a little like silly answering it, but like the deeper you get, I mean, like that's powerful. I I think the one thing I've learned from doing this show for these years is just how those daily things that might seem, like you said, mundane, I love the word mundane, or not significant, those can really transform our lives.
And so it's how are we consistent at them? How do we make them a habit? I mean, Atomic Habits is a wonderful resource, a wonderful book to go and refer to about how you
Mhm.
can make it something that you just do automatically. So it doesn't take a lot of brain power to choose to do it. Because that negotiating with ourselves, should I wash the dishes? Oh, it's only 2, I could leave them tomorrow. You've used up some mental capacity, you've used time. Just debating with yourself. Whereas if you just like, I'm the kind of person who does their dishes in the night before, because that frees me up to empower other women. I do my dishes, so I don't have to think about it. There's 2 dishes, quickly turn the hot water on and you're done. You know what I mean? It's a quick things.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that.
And I was
Okay.
going to just say thanks for following with me, allowing me to ask you those questions.
Oh, no, thank you. Like, cause I feel like that gave me even more clarity. Like, I thought I had clarity on it to keep the house clean, but like that gave me more clarity. So you're saying like to really find out the why, and then what are some other things to help people keep their resolutions?
Okay. So remember we said making some time to just think through them, whether it's half an hour, 2 hours, whatever. A well thought through goal will set you up for success. And the next aspect is writing it down. So as I said, in a journal, scrap piece of paper, if you really want to type it, there's something about moving your finger. It links to your brain. It helps crystallize thinking. It takes things out of just a wish in your head. And actually, when you see something on paper or on your screen, if you type in it, it's very powerful. So writing it down, and there has been a lot of research that the people who are more successful at the end of the year are the ones that wrote it down. So just the fact of thinking about it and being clear, so you're writing it down, and also when you do that, it will help show you whether the language is, as we said, positive, if you worded it towards what you want. So like your example, instead of no dirty dishes, maybe it's a clean, tidy sink, everything packed away. You know what I mean? It's you sending your brain, your consciousness to the
Yeah.
outcome that you're looking at in order to empower women. So you write things down, you've languaged them. You also need to make sure that it's within your control. part of that, when you write it down and you started looking at it and think about what it is you want to achieve, is it something that you have agency over? Is it something because sometimes that people will write something, but it involves other people, which we have no control over. Yeah, I want a better relationship. Well, I have no control over my partner also wanting that, or that them showing up the same way. But if I word it as, I want to show up as the best partner in a relationship so that I can do my best to improve our relationship, that's within my control. I can totally do everything I can about my role in the relationship. But writing your goal or thinking about it or setting it up in a way that is dependent on other people or circumstances beyond your control, you will feel less in control of it, less capable, the agency is a good word. You don't have the agency to actually start to make this happen. So you want to look for the aspect that would take you towards the outcome you want to achieve, but the aspect that is totally within your control. And that's what you start to narrow down as part of your goal. Something I can do something about and word it in the way that I, do my best. I show up for, I take the steps towards. Then when you've got that, you can look at then about a plan. Often, so we either make it too vague, what the goal we want to go towards. So we need to be as specific as we can. Oh, and I suppose part of that is measurable. How will you know that you've got that result? It's only with your control. So I want to show up as a better partner in my relationship. At the end of the year, if I reflect back, how will I know that I showed up as the best partner I could? It might be getting external feedback, but even there, I can't guarantee. So it would be, I ask for feedback. I actually sit down and say to my partner, did you feel loved this year? Did you experience me as being more supportive of your goals? Whatever it is that you feel might be criteria that would help you to know that you've shown up. And it can just be also our own internal knowing. You kind of know sometimes when you're doing the best you can or not. So you can try and set up some kind of measurable. If it's more tangible kind of goal like financials, you might have a certain amount that you've saved. So you may not be able to totally impact your income coming in. Whatever income comes in, you can, with your own agency, save a certain amount of it. So then your goal would be that you saved 10% of your income for the year into a certain fund. Something like that. So coming up with ways you can measure it. So we said measure it, making it specific as you can, writing it down. It's something within your control. Yeah, you start to look at the steps and stages. How do you come up with a plan to achieve this? Part of, I suppose, all of what we talk about is also making sure it's realistic. It's something that is achievable within the time frame you want to achieve it. For me, there's a line there. We don't want to let ourselves off the hook so we don't stretch ourselves, but we also don't want to set ourselves up for failure by saying something we absolutely know is unrealistic. So it's about wording it and setting up steps and stages and goals towards what we want to achieve. If we can break up a big goal into smaller things or smaller tasks, or for your example, which was that being more organized and having your environment clean and everything in its place, that unlocks a whole lot of your focus and your energy to do what you really want to do. So you might just have certain habits or behaviors that will assist you to create that kind of environment so that you can achieve other things. So what are those habits? And then it might be the steps and stages towards your goal is this month, I'm just focusing on the dishes. Once I've got that as a habit, next month I'm adding on the vacuuming of the house once a week. You know what I mean? It's like you can do things like that in steps and stages. Some goals also, we don't actually know how to achieve them. It's something we want to do. Last year, I talk about setting a courageous goal for the year. I'm all about being courageous, about developing courage. And some of the biggest shifts, and that grew out of my interest in just one focus for the year, where I said I did tango dancing for fun and rock climbing and all those wonderful things. It's grown more now and more I learned about courage and about goal setting. I thought, what if I set myself up that my focus for the year is one goal, one achievement, something I want to have. It will take me a year to work towards it. And if I achieve it, it is that big, that significant that my life will shift in the most positive way. Like it will really make an impact. And then I started sharing that with people, and we've been doing a One Courageous Goal challenge, for a couple of years now. But last year, my courageous goal was to write a book. But I had no idea where to start. And I have a few topics. So my January step was just to work out how do I go about coming up with a plan for the year to write the book. So what I'm telling you that is sometimes if you don't know how to achieve the goal, your first step then is to research the how. A part of your goal might be just to learn something for a few months, do some courses. Part of it might be to find a mentor who's done it before, and that's your first step, however long it takes. And then you can break even that down. So if you get a mentor that will help, that's done what you want to achieve, that can then help you, you can break that down. How do I find a mentor? What are my criteria for a mentor that I think would be a good fit for me? Where would I find that person? How would I approach them? Starting to look for them. Every week you're going to 3 networking events, related to whatever it is in order to hopefully meet someone, or you're going onto LinkedIn once a week searching for people who write about and have some kind of experience in the thing you're wanting to achieve. So I don't know, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but that point is more about the steps and stages. So if we can break down that big goal, you can either work backwards, or sometimes if we don't know the how, you start. Well, what is the first thing I would need to do? And then maybe my first, phase is for the month of January is to work out the how. And then I need to check in with myself. And that links us a bit into the next step, which is about the accountability. Check in with myself, and in February, I can then set more actions. I'll have a better idea of how to break this big goal into steps and stages. Before we go back to accountability, we can go back to the different types of goals. So just the two that I wanted to highlight in terms of the way you word them. One is called a process goal, and the other is an outcome goal. So the outcome goal, if you can use your example, your outcome is to have a clean, tidy house. The bigger why is so because it helps impact finding, women to find their voices in podcasts. But it's to have a tidy house so that you have focus, right? It's something around that.
Mm-hmm.
That is your outcome.
Yeah.
But the process goal would be every day I go to bed with no dishes in the sink. Every day the sink is clean and clear and everything's packed away. So the process is more about the actual process to achieve some end results versus an outcome goal. So again, that example of that you said sometimes, and it's wonderful to have that kind of goals, like you want to run a marathon. In South Africa, my country, the big marathon towards the end of the year is the Comrades Marathon. It is really a big, long, very difficult marathon. So some people have that as their outcome goal, right? Whereas a process goal might be more, want to get fit and healthy. I just want to have a level of like a lifestyle that is much more around feeling like my body is strong enough just to handle life, to be able to pick up the groceries, bags, and not be able to walk up the flight of stairs and not be out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more probably like a process goal where it would be, the process to get that level of fitness would be I go to gym 3 times a week. And you can, break that down to I do cardio and stretching and whatever 3 times a week. So I don't know if that makes sense, if I've explained it well, but
Yeah.
it's useful to just identify for yourself, is your goal an outcome goal? Because what tends to happen with that also is once you run the Comrades Marathon, right? You've reached your goal. I did that I went through a phase of cycling. Really big races, the Cape Town Cycle Tour. It's one of the biggest races in the world. like thousands and thousands and thousands of people do this 100 kilometers around the Cape Peninsula. It's the most beautiful race. And that was it. So broke it into steps and stages, cycling around the block to entering smaller races because you had to compete in a few to get a place in the big race. But end of that big race, done it, great, got the t-shirt, you know what I mean, the little medal. And then I didn't get on a bicycle for months again. It's just because I've reached that outcome. And there's nothing wrong with that. I really enjoyed that experience. You know, did the race a few times. But more, it's just identifying for yourself, is this a process goal or a outcome goal? So that you understand what it is you're building towards. So a process goal for me is also be around my diet. I really try to stick, you know, have a little amount of sugar and gluten as possible in my diet. And for me, that's a lifestyle. That's a long-term thing. There's no specific outcome. So the steps and stages towards that would be very different to the steps and stages I would sit down and work out in doing a race, a running or cycling race.
I haven't really thought about the process and outcome goals, and I'm glad that you clarified that because like you said, a process is more like what lifestyle you're trying to create, and the outcome could be done by like I have a goal to do a live podcast that can be done by January, and then that goal's checked off.
Yes.
Like, I think this is a great episode because you're the first episode for 2026. Really, like, get us thinking about, like, why are you doing it? What is it that you really want to accomplish with this? Is this just a one-time thing? Is this a lifestyle thing? And like you said, thinking about all this, it does take a little bit more time, but that keeps you in that 20% that gets past quitter's day. And so let's dive in a little bit because you had talked about accountability.
Yes.
Is accountability the last thing?
It's very, yeah, and a very important
Yeah.
part.
Okay.
So I think the first level of accountability is to ourselves. We have to commit. We have to find it within ourselves. And I often suggest people write, I will statement, like a decision statement. Have you
Mhm.
decided to do this goal? There is
Yeah.
so much power in decision. It's like I said, I went for a run this week and I haven't been again. I don't think I've fully
Mhm.
decided that running is what I want to do and that I haven't fully committed. It's probably why I
Yeah.
haven't made it happen yet. So as thank you for this, reflection for myself as well. I need to go and actually work out what it is that I want to do in terms of my fitness this year and commit like 100%. So if you can then write it as a statement. So I will run 3 times a week in order to, and you can bring in your higher purpose if it's important, or the outcome you want to achieve, whether it's a results or process. But can we word it in such a way and then say that? Either say it to someone else if you've got a close, confident, good personal friend that you can bounce something around with, a mastermind group, a coach, whoever it is. If no one else, just to yourself, say it out aloud in the mirror. Because there's something when we say it and we know we haven't really given it our all. When you can say it and every fiber of your being is deciding this, something shifts in our neurology, something shifts in our thinking. We could probably do a whole episode just on decision making because I think decision is one of our resources that we don't access and tap into enough. Actually making a 100% congruent decision is very useful. And that to me is part of accountability, is deciding that you will do this. And then is looking at other forms of accountability. Something a lot of people have said, and also something the research has shown, is that writing it down, I can't remember, sorry, offhand right now the percentage, but I know if you write down your goal, you're already, you up your percent towards being successful. If you say it aloud to someone else, you up your percentage even more. And if you then, the next step is set a accountability appointment in your calendar that becomes like a non-negotiable. So once a month, and I usually find there's something about the shift, the turn of energy at the end of the month. For some of us, we find it more useful at the end of the month. Some of us find it more useful at the beginning of the month. But somewhere around that end of the month, if you can put in your diary, I've got in my diary as recurring. It's just a half an hour, but it's that accountability check-in where I know sometimes appointments happen. So we talk about being flexible, but it's still a non-negotiable. So if an appointment came in, like if a chance to speak to you and it's at the same time in my diary that my accountability appointment is, I might shift it, earlier or to after the appointment or to the next day. But the point is it doesn't get deleted. It has to happen sometime around, with some consistency. That appointment is where you check in with yourself and you say, okay, what worked last month? What did I do? What can I tick off? What is my next steps? What am I going to focus on in this month coming up? What do I need to carry over? Am I ahead of where? Am I lost? Do I need to reconnect with my big why? It's just that very specific moment of checking in with yourself. Am I on track with where I want to go? What do I need to tweak? What is my focus going forward? So if we can do that, if you want to even be more successful, is get an accountability partner. So find someone who also wants to achieve a goal. I don't know if you find it I know definitely I know I talk about fitness a lot, but it's one that explains the principles very well. But if we have a fitness buddy, I do park runs. I don't know if you heard of that. It's Saturday morning, all over the world, 8 o'clock, you can go and do a 5 kilometer. I walk it, I don't run it. Maybe this year I'll try run a bit more of it. But I have a friend that we met, and last year I did more park runs than I've done in all the years I've been trying to do them because she also wanted to do park runs. And now we had to meet. And I got out of bed because I can't let Kilineha down. I have to get up and go because she's waiting for me. And I think likewise, she also, is less likely to just lie in bed or skip it because she knows I'm keen and I'm there. And actually, it made it so much more fun. It still does because we just talk so much while we're doing the walking and we're always trying to beat our time. So it's really having someone. So in terms of more, if it's something else like a business, finding a group of people, it could be a mastermind group or just people that are meet regularly. There's somehow that kind of accountability check-in with someone or a group of people where they're going to ask you, what have you done? What are you going to do? What worked? What didn't work? You're more likely to actually do what you need to do. And the one year where I did that meeting, I've got it in my calendar, where I actually met with someone and we would meet on Zoom. I knew it was coming up in my diary. It really pushed me to do more of what I said I would achieve in that month. So that when I met with him, I knew I had to account. And sometimes I didn't achieve, but it's okay. And it's not about if you are someone else's accountability partner. It's not about beating them up for, doing it. It's like really caring and being interested and holding them accountable. Say, you said this is important. You said you wanted to help women with their voice and that cleaning your house or washing your dishes was how you're going to do it. So what can we do to help you to make sure you do those dishes every night this coming month? It's, that's what you want from an accountability partner is they're on your side. They're not going to let you off the hook, but they are going to encourage you. And hold you accountable. And the other ways too, you can set their software, project management software can be an accountability partner. You set deadlines, you set reminders to yourself. You shouldn't be, and that's what's useful about breaking these down into steps and stages. You can then plan them out on a year or plan them in a project management. There's something very rewarding about ticking off, I achieved that. I got that. This part I got 90%. So the next 10% is coming this month. And I'm going to focus on the next step. It's having that time, dedicated time to just do that check-in and focus on the next steps. Or having someone there to hold you accountable is very useful.
I talked about earlier, like, I thought that this podcast being accountable would be that secret tool. And I think what I learned from you today is that if you're just doing one of the things, but not like combining it with everything else, because I think oftentimes, especially like those first 2 seasons, I would forget what my goals were for the week. They weren't tied to something else. Sometimes we were just creating them so we had something to say, like it didn't have more of a meaning. And I've noticed that as I've refined listening to experts, like it it is like I'm more am doing stuff because it it's like what I want to change, and I don't have like the deeper like how we went with like helping women podcast. I haven't gone that deep, but it's more like maybe 2 phases deep, of being like, oh, I want to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And so it's cool hearing all of the pieces together. Um, and I think that this is a great opportunity for people to reflect. And with that, like I always ask the guests to give me and the listeners a challenge. And this year I'm doing something different where I'm going to do a separate episode reflecting on the challenge that you gave me after I've done it. Just because that's a way because oftentimes I get these challenges and like I'll like think about it or I'll do it, but I'm not really like reflecting on it. And this just is holding me more because I get so many good challenges. I want to do them all. So what's the challenge that you want to give us for this week?
And as you said, challenge what pops into my mind is a very useful exercise, which I haven't mentioned yet, which is still also part of, it's what I teach in terms of my One Courageous Goal philosophy, if you want to call it that, or approach, is the starting point, especially is to always try and link what you're doing now to your past, where you've come from. So at this time of year, it's really useful to do a past year review exercise. So that is what I would make as your challenge. The past year review exercise is to look at last year, 2025, and it doesn't take long. 3 pieces of paper, if you want, and it's like 2 minutes per question. First question is, what didn't work? What were the challenges from last year? What were you disappointed about? What was really hard and difficult? And you just jot down. Literally, you can set a timer on your phone and you just want the high level, whatever comes to mind. What was really difficult, challenge, disappointments, hard about last year? When the 2 minutes are up, the next page is what was great about last year. What were you want to celebrate? What do you want to, acknowledge and appreciate? 2 minutes again, just write down everything that worked, that went well, that is worth, highlighting as a highlight. So it's the highs and lows kind of thing. The next page, the next 2 minutes part of the exercise is to look at what do you want more of this year? If you could grow something or expand something, develop something, just get more capacity. So just jot down all of those things that you want more of in this year. It may be informed from last year, especially from if things went well, maybe you want more of that. It may be more of something new that you want to bring in. But just doing that kind of thing, if you look, the last part of the exercise is to look back at all of that and look for what were the highs and lows, but specifically the ones that you felt, if you look at it back now, you can learn from. So in other words, what were the lessons from the last year? What did you learn that if you could go back to the Steph that was at, 2024, December 2024, looking at last year, what would you want her to learn or know about that might have made the year easier? So just however you frame the question or the reflection, write down some of the lessons. And from those lessons, you'll be able to get a few guidelines. There'll be something from that. And I often invite people to word it in a way that it's a very active, be brave, because you realize that you weren't as courageous as you had hoped. And I always bring up courage, but being braver this year you think will really help you. So you write it down in some terms of guidelines that then you can bring in as helping you inform what you want to work on this year, but also as a guideline that will help you. And it's almost like it becomes a bridge. It links last year's learnings and takes them forward. So this goal you're coming up with is not just plonk in the middle of nothing, because we are, we're in a journey, we're in a process. How do we link where we are now to where we want to get the future us? And part of that is looking back honestly and taking those learnings with us forward as guidelines that can inform what we are going to do. And it's an interesting exercise because especially if you do that first, it kind of often informs what you want to work on and the reasons for it. So that would be my challenge, is to do that. I have a free written little workbook that talks you through that. If I'm quite happy to share it with you and anyone listening. It's complimentary. It's such a useful exercise at this time of year. So I don't know if you want to take that as your challenge.
Yes, I love that challenge, and I will also link that workbook in the show notes, guys. And like as you were talking, I was like, okay, I'm really glad that I'm going to take the time to do another episode each week talking about like what I did with the weekly challenge, because I think that this will be so good for me. And I'm excited to do everything that you were talking about and like stop it, play it, like, write, all the things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all of you who have listened along to this episode, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, for push and play, and for following along on the journey. And whatever your goal is, your resolutions for 2026, I hope that with these tips that Telana gave you, that you're able to understand more, like the deeper meaning of why you want to go after whatever it is, from doing a dish to maybe writing a book, whatever your goal might be. I hope that this helps to give more clarity so that those dreams can become a reality. Make sure to come back Wednesday to hear my recap on what I learned from this challenge. And I hope you guys have a great day.